picture this. You're in a meeting with your boss, you're sketching out a new project, and he just points to the project lead box and goes, well, that's going to be you. At this moment, my heart dropped. I mean, I was just a trainee at this point, and that moment launched my whole project management career to leading 7-figure projects across various industries. So in this video, I'll share with you how I transitioned from trainee to project lead, even though I never planned on it, and why I love this job. As for my background, I did a bachelor's degree in international business studies and then earned a master's degree in marketing. And I never really specifically planned on getting into project management at all. I primarily wanted to apply for positions that allowed me to go abroad and also to get an insight into different departments. So towards the end of my master's degree, I started looking into different trainee programs that paid a good base salary, but also allowed you to go abroad. And most of them happened to be in banking. Now, I did not actually have anything to do with banking prior to that. I always worked office jobs alongside my studies, but never in banking. So I thought, okay, I need at least something in my CV that is somehow connected to banking so that I have a chance of getting into these trainee programs. And I ended up writing my thesis about it so that I could use some of the relevant findings in my thesis and put them into my application. Eventually, I got lucky and I got accepted at ING, which, for those of you who don't know it, is a bank that is headquartered in Amsterdam in the Netherlands and operates in over 40 countries worldwide. In 2015, ING realized that they needed to stop acting like a traditional bank and start acting like a tech company to keep up with all of their fintech competition. So they underwent a massive digital transformation, and they famously adopted the Spotify model. The Spotify model organizes people into small autonomous groups instead of top-down hierarchies with bosses and departments. And it's called like that because 2 agile experts from Spotify back in the days published a white paper called Scaling Agile at Spotify. In this white paper, they were documenting how Spotify organizes its engineers to stay fast while growing from a small startup to a global giant. Later, they also released an animated video series of this, which went viral in the business world because it was the first time that anyone had seen a company actually pull off this agile concept on such a large scale. Eventually, ING adopted the Spotify model so it would allow them to scale faster. If you studied business or anything like this, you might have come across this case in your studies. Anyways, why am I telling you this? Because the Spotify model and the way that eventually ING also organized its teams and people in its core is an agile methodology, one of the core methodologies of project management. Now, when I started at ING as a trainee, they made us do several trainings and certifications like Scrum Master and Product Owner so that we could understand how the bank actually worked, how it organized its people and the workflows, and also so we could learn some of the terminology like velocity and sprints and Scrum, things that none of us had ever heard of. It seemed like a whole new world, but I did find it very logical and it was fun learning about it. So we were really given a super solid training in project management right at the start. During my trainee program, I had 3 different rotations through different departments in which they all had their own projects going on. And very soon I was able to independently lead certain work streams within those projects and then report back to the project managers and project leads or product owners. The program was set for 1 year, and afterwards you were to be placed into one department as a permanent role. And I remember my placement meeting where you're discussing in which department you're going to go, and you also get to have a little say in it. And I remember they came to me and they suggested that I would join the marketing team, given my degree in it. But I really did not see myself in the marketing team because during my different rotations, I really enjoyed working more closely on the product and on the strategy of the bank. So I came prepared to that meeting. I had a list with all my strengths and how I demonstrated them during the rotation and why I don't think that my core strength lies in marketing, but rather in more strategic positions. And I think that they back then were really impressed that I came so prepared for this meeting. And then they said that there's one other open position. They said that they have a new project coming up with a really high strategic relevance within that company or within the bank. And I remember thinking to myself, great, I'll be happy to assist the project lead with this project. That sounds like a great opportunity. And at this moment, I didn't really inquire any further. I was just happy with what I got. A couple of weeks later, I had a meeting scheduled with my boss where we're supposed to schedule out a basic project governance, so like a hierarchy or like an org chart for that project. And then he said, okay, so for project lead, we put you, obviously. And I was like, what? I'm going to lead the project? I thought I will be assisting the project. Little old me, I just came out of this trainee program. I don't think I can do this. You said it has really high strategic relevance. What is going on? And that's how I got into project management. The first task for me was to calculate a business case to show the potential return on investment on this project. And immediately I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. But my boss, he gave me a template that they used to fill out for business cases because they had a standardized process for it. But still, I needed the numbers from somewhere, right? So he explained the whole process to me of making estimates in certain places, talking to other departments, talking to experts from these departments to get the info that I needed. And so within a couple of weeks and a lot of long nights, to be fair, I eventually reached out to everyone, got all of the data that I needed, calculated everything, and did my first business case right there. Next thing, we wanted to make a brainstorming workshop with all of the involved stakeholders in the project to discuss what kind of features we would include in the project, because the project was about an app. And I remember just turning up there having prepared nothing. And looking back, I was like, okay, I should have probably at least, I don't know, prepared some tables or prepared some templates or some methods of how we can brainstorm this. And I definitely think some of my colleagues, the ones that had been longer in the company, they were thinking, what is she doing? Why is she in this role? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how I got here, but I am here and I'm just going to try and make the best out of it. And so we just winged it. We did the whole brainstorm workshop with me moderating it without any preparation, and it went well. We were able to come up with some great ideas, and it was definitely a learning for me to next time to come prepared, to come with some certain methods and certain templates so that we could just work together more smoothly. After this, I had to hold a kickoff meeting for the project with 20 stakeholders from all different departments: software, UX, risk, compliance, legal, all sorts of colleagues that had been at this company for way longer than I had, and that definitely had several years more of experience. But it was actually fun. It was more so me holding space for them to talk. It wasn't necessarily me needing to prove that I know everything better, because I didn't. And I like this kind of role of moderating and making sure that everyone is getting a say and is being heard, and everyone's ideas were actually put in there while navigating them through the whole idea of the project. I also had to give quarterly updates to a member of the board, and I was definitely afraid to do that because I thought he'll just think, who's this girl? Why is she in charge of this project? And what is she even telling me? But it went really well. So what I did to calm my nerves was to prepare as much as possible. I had my whole slide deck ready. I made notes for every single slide, and then I practiced giving these notes or giving my presentation to a colleague beforehand at least 5 to 10 times so that I was really solidly prepared, and that definitely helped, and it went really smoothly. And yeah, I did all sorts of other routines and agile methodologies like retrospectives, what went well, what didn't go well. I definitely also received a lot of criticism, but constructive criticism of what I could have done better, both from my bosses as well as from the rest of the project team. And I gladly took it because in the end, it just made me learn so much in such a short amount of time. And I was just so grateful to have mentors and guidance, but also to be given this upfront trust to actually do this, because I think this is exactly how I operate. If someone is doubting me from the beginning, then I think I will perform also towards the expectations and perform badly. Whereas if someone gives me upfront trust, then I want to live up to that standard and live up to the expectations, and I will do my best to get there. So this is kind of the way that I work, and it worked out really well for me in that sense. And I felt so comfortable after a while in this position. And I realized it lined up also really well with my own personal strengths, which were to organize and structure things. I like presenting in front of people and presenting ideas, make PowerPoint slides. I like to hold a room and moderate. And in that sense, all of these soft skills of reading a room, they came in very handy. After 3 years in that company or in that bank, I then moved to a senior consultant role in a consulting boutique firm where I managed different projects from banking to e-mobility to renewable energy. And that was super cool because I really brought this solid project management foundation that I had learned at ING, and I could then apply it to different industries and completely different projects in different contexts, which was a lot of fun. And again, super steep learning curve where in a short amount of time, I could really get insights into mid to senior level project management. It also made me realize that every organization to some degree has projects going on, and they need project managers to organize these kind of projects. Now, this brings me to my next point, why I think project management is actually a great career. And let's start with the obvious. You'll be earning great salary in most positions, up to 6 figures, especially in the more mid to senior level positions. But also you can work in many different industries because the core skills of a project manager are the same across software, construction, banking, and so on. Especially in the more senior roles, you also get to have a say in the more strategic direction of the company or the business that you're working for, which is super exciting if you feel like you can have an actual impact. And also you get to work with people. You can build a huge internal network because you have to speak to any kind of colleagues from any kind of department. And by that, really get to know different sides of the company and of the business that you're working for. And of course, by that, you build a standing for yourself within that company. Now, lastly, it's also a very smart career choice in 2026 because AI cannot so easily replace project managers. I made a separate video about this where I dive in deeper into the statistics of a project management career in the next decade or over the next coming years. In times of AI, a project management role will not vanish, but actually all of the project management tools and agents, they will just complement and enhance a project manager's position because the core of project management is people skills, is communication skills, and these soft skills AI can not yet take over so easily. And especially the Western economy is characterized by projectification, which means that we're more and more moving away from permanent structures within a firm towards project-based temporary structures, just so that a company can be quicker to reply to changing customer needs and to a changing tech landscape. Now, moving on to the last part, I think this is the longest video I ever made, but bear with me. How can you get into project management if you're interested in this kind of career in 2026? First of all, there are so many different project management certifications that you could get and that you could pay for and study for forever and just to have that in your CV. But generally, what I advise people to do here is to look for low-cost courses on project management, for example, on Udemy, that fulfill some of the requirements for these certifications. So, for example, there's a certification for entry-level project managers, which is called CAPM. In order to fulfill the requirements for taking this exam, the CAPM exam, you need to have a certain amount of training hours. Those training hours you can get from a Udemy course for, I don't know, around $12. And you can go through it and then you have fulfilled the requirements, even though you did not decide yet to actually take the exam. Then you have the knowledge of this, and if you further down the line decide to take the exam, you have those training hours in place already. But do you necessarily need the certification? It depends. My advice here, check the job market, look for certain project management or project coordinator positions that you would really like to apply for, and see if they have the CAPM or other certifications listed as a requirement. If it's not a requirement, go for the low-cost Udemy course to learn the project management basics and to feel more confident when you actually hit apply. I will put some examples of these Udemy courses in the description as well, so you can check them out. Also in general, if you're just interested to learn a bit more about project management. Secondly, you need to realize that you probably have a lot of skills, previous experience either from your studies or from a different field that you worked in for several years that are very much translatable into project management language. You just need to rephrase it. I made an AI agent for this. I'll put the link in the description where you can just chat with the bot and it'll guide you through how to transform bullet points of your resume into project management lingo. I put several different CVs of experienced project managers as well as a glossary for project management terminology in there as a knowledge source that it will extract from there to reframe and transform your bullet points. And lastly, what you need to keep in mind is that what actually gets you hired is not a certification, but eventually it will be the experience that gets you hired. And I see it more and more that project management entry-level roles are falling away because AI is taking over the entry-level roles that are a little bit more admin-heavy and repeatable tasks, and is more and more asking for medium to senior level project managers. But how can you get into project management and gain the experience if these entry-level roles don't exist anymore? Now, obviously, I was really lucky and I had a company that was mentoring me and guiding me and training me in this field. But if you currently are not in this position, what I'd recommend is try and set up a personal initiative or any kind of leisure activity that you're planning and make a project out of it. Let's say you want to renovate something or you want to upgrade your car. Try and treat it as an actual project. Set a timeline for it, define several key milestones, set a budget for it. If you're doing it with friends or with a partner, you can even schedule weekly status meetings to check in with them and discuss how the project is going. Now, if you want a little bit more guidance and a little bit more business context to your project to actually gain that experience that is required for a lot of positions nowadays, I'm building something at the moment, and it's going to be a project management career accelerator program where we will simulate high stakes scenarios with difficult stakeholders, where you have to lead actual status meetings, actual kickoff meetings, you'll have to build a roadmap and all of that. And you will have different assignments along the way where you get one-on-one feedback from experienced project managers. I'll put the link in the description as well, so you can sign up for the waitlist as we're currently still building it out. Now, that was my personal journey of how I got into project management, even though I never planned on getting into it in the first place. And if you're still here listening to me ramble on, thank you so much. And drop a comment below if you have any questions or if you had a similar journey, or let me know how you ended up in your career. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.